And of course, the both designs are well and truly proven as great cruising boats and charter boats, and won a swag of awards in Australia and overseas. And they're really optimised for Australian conditions. So you've got beautiful big open indoor-outdoor layouts. Very easy to sail. They're optimised for short-handed sailing, which is, crosses over for charter users. Safety record's impeccable. With the over 350 boats that we built in the past 15 years or so, and another 300 in the early days. And certainly on the performance end of the spectrum. But another important point is we have a very strong owners club. We do a lot of rallies and regattas in Australia and overseas. We've got a big rally coming up on the Whitsundays from the 20th of June for a week, and that goes from island to island, parties and good time up there. So just on the location, the Whitsundays is without doubt the most sought after location for charter boats, both in terms of chartering but also in terms of placing boats to have them chartered. However, they are running out. The vacancies for boats to go into charter fleets, there's only really a limited few now left available since the investment allowance has come through. Still are opportunities, but they're just becoming a little bit more scarce. Beyond the Whitsundays, Townsville has got a couple of boats up there. We've got Harvey Bay and Fraser Island, Pittwater and Sydney. And then overseas we have a few boats in Phuket, and our first 1160 going to the Caribbean next month. So you can go beyond Australian waters if you wanted to, and there probably will be a scope to swap boats between owners. Between that, we're working on that program at the moment. So that covers the initial introductory process. We'll probably ask Mark to come up and go through some of the numbers now and have a close look at the investment model.
Okay. I'm just going to take you through some of the spreadsheets which form the fundamental assessment tools of whether you have a charter boat business. To start with, I just want to make a comment that a charter boat business in its right structure is very similar to an investment property. It's an income earning asset, it has debt on it, and there are certain tax circumstances or ramifications for it. As we see in front of us here, we've taken an example of Seawind 1160, where it had as a capital price of $562 excluding GST. Brent had made a comment earlier that often we'll see a client have an equity within the boat of 30%, funding 70, the 30% really being the GST component, plus the 20% hardcore debt. The GST obviously being a refund or an input credit because you're running a business. On this particular model, as we test some assumptions, we've looked at an 80% gearing on the boat. We've used a traditional finance structure which looks at financing the boat over an initial 5-year term with a 40% balloon at the end, and then rewriting that balloon over a 4-year period down to nil. So in a way it's a 9-year fully amortising transaction. You could pay cash for the boat, you could use a redraw facility against a home loan. This particular model will allow you to zero out the percentage finance to see a cash ramification, or you can break into the spreadsheet to look at some interest-only structures as well. As this is really a profit and loss report where we're looking to see, do we have a business which meets the hallmarks of the rulings of the ATO with regard to prospect of profit and significant commercial purpose, we test it by checking the numbers. The figures that have been provided to us on the 1160 here are from a Whitsunday based operator where there's about been an application up there. So it's showing $138,000 worth of gross revenue. There's $14,000 worth of costs. Now they're costs referable to holding the boat, whether the boat fires an angry shot in revenue or not. And that's such things as marina fees, marine park permits, insurance, any cost which is referable to holding. The actual use cost line is things such as the management fees by the charter operators, turnarounds, briefings, inspections, repairs and maintenance. So they're referable to the actual use and revenue earning capacity of the boat. You can see that the next number is really just the default number. It's working out what the net return is for that boat to the owner. No different to you having an investment unit at Noosa in a letting pool that has a gross rental income management fees taken out of that, and then a net return to the owner. These numbers are based around a 25-week hire period at 175 days, and for the purpose of the exercise, we've put in 21 days private use. We've used a tax rate in this instance of 40%, but this spreadsheet allows you to calibrate it to whatever your prevailing tax rate might be. Within a profit and loss report, you've also got to consider the decline in value of the asset, because if you buy a boat for $1 million and it's worth $800,000 at the end of a 5-year period, then the real cost of that business is $200,000 in decline in value. So it needs to be factored in, and we've used a figure of 75% over the 10-year period. Now these are reasonably conservative numbers if we look at some of the historics we've seen on the Seawind cats over recent times. And I think, Brent, you've got a brief spreadsheet on that on the next one. This just plots the sale of used boats in the Seawind area through Seawind themselves. You'll see the age of the boat at resale along the bottom curve, and you'll see the percentage of resale value up on the left-hand side there, one representing 100%. And I think the averaging there is sitting just over 80% over that structure. Now they're an excellent product, but what is important to understand is that a Seawind 1000, when it was bought new back in 96, 97, when they first started production, was less than $200,000 in value. Today they're about $350,000. So certainly the replacement cost makes these boats at a 5 or 10 year age circumstance quite attractive at a used level. We started off these boilerplate spreadsheets, if you like, with a whole lot of assumptions. And what we're looking for here is, if you are considering buying a charter boat and you want it to be a business which has, according to the ATO rulings around charter boat, prospect of profit and significant commercial purpose, which is what it needs to be to operate as a business, you really need to test your equation. Do I have too much debt on it? Is it in the right location? Is it earning the right level of gross revenue, the net revenue in the circumstance? And this particular simplified business model contemplates all of those expenses and revenues and looks to see whether we've got that prospect of profit. An interesting thing within this spreadsheet is we put some assumptions in up front about private use, and we had that calibrated to 21 days. It might be 7 days, it might be 30 days. But when you do that calibration, it's very similar to a company car. You can't hire a boat from yourself. So what you're really doing is you're saying, I've got a boat here which is predominantly a business, but there is some private use. So I'm going to take a portion of the expenses referable to that boat, and they're going to be applied to private use, in other words, non-business expense. And within this particular spreadsheet, as we roll from left to right, where we see gross income and holding costs and net income and interest, some extra repairs and maintenance built into the boat after year 5, a decline in value based on the resale historics of the boats, and outgoings with a small year-end result, and then we've really reversed back out, if you like, some of the non-business related expenses to come to a business related outcome, which is showing about $10,000 per annum. What we're looking in a fundamental sense here is, does this boat show, in a cumulative sense, prospect of profit and significant commercial purpose? Is it actually earning a good revenue? Is it a profitable business from an accounting model? This is not a tax model. This is simply a P&L to see if the business is sound and robust. In this instance, we've got plenty of prospect of profit. I think we're about 92,000 at year 6 and about 130,000 at year 7. Typically a charter boat will enter into an agreement with a charter management company, the Whitsundays, for 5 years, and at the end of that 5-year period there will be some options where the owner's happy to leave it there for another couple of years, the charter operator's happy to leave it there to manage it, and the boat may run 7 or 8 years over its life within that charter operation. This is simply a bar graph showing how the cumulative circumstance of prospect of profit, and you can see that it jumps up fairly significantly after year 6, and that's primarily because you've been chewing through a lot of your debt. The initial part of your debt was 80% geared on a 5-year term with a 40% balloon, and now you're really writing that balloon off on a 4-year nil basis. So there's very little expense in terms of interest as you amortise that last position out.